Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the April 8th, 2013 Raleigh Board of Selectmen. Remind everybody that this meeting is being audio taped and videotaped. First on the agenda is call the meeting to order and Pledge of Allegiance. And Mr. Murray, will you lead us in the pledge?
I'm delighted to. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you for the privilege.
Okay. Chairman's comments. I'm going to reserve Chairman's comments until we have the meeting on the 29th, and I have some comments at that particular time, and it'll be in regards to the water department. But at this point, no Chairman's comments. It is 7:05. We started the meeting a little late. I apologize to those viewing at home. And it's up from 7:05 to 7:15 to citizen query. And so citizen query is now open. If there's anyone in the audience has a question. All right. We'll move on. We have an appointment at 7:15 with Chris Thornton to discuss Associate Planning Board seat. Also at 7:30, we have an appointment with Water Superintendent John Rizzer, Business Manager Laura Hamilton, and Water Commissioner Tim Toomey to discuss FY14 budget and articles. And so there's nothing. Thank you. Again, citizen query between 7:05 and 7:15. If anybody has any questions, do you have any questions? Okay. Just remind everybody this meeting is being videotaped and audio taped. Okay, moving on to general business number 1.
No, it's not.
Okay. General business number 1, there are no flea market renewals for tonight. Okay. General business number 2, antique dealers license renewals. The applicants below have submitted renewals for the antique and junk licenses to be renewed through May the 1st, 2014. All required forms and renewal fees have been submitted. The applicants do not have outstanding taxes, water, or electric bills. The applicant's name is Star. I have 5 applicants. Star P. Todd's Todd Farm LLC, 285 Main Street. Charles T. Davis, Village Antiques, 201 Main Street. Robert C. Fokker. Salt Marsh Antiques, 224 Main Street. Apologize to Bob. Vincent Manzo Salvage, 586 Main Street. Frank P. Todd River View Farm LLC, 275 Main Street.
Could we vote on these individually?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have to recuse myself on the first one.
On the first one. Okay. So, on the first antique application license renewal, Star P. Todd Farm LLC, 285 Main Street.
I'll make a motion, we grant that.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse
Abstain.
myself.
Okay. I have recusal and abstention. Okay. Okay, Charles, well, why don't we sign this? That way we won't get confused. Okay, so the first one. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Okay, next, Charles T. Davis, Village Antiques, 201 Main Street.
I'll make a motion, we grant that license.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, let's sign that off. Make sure I got the right one. Okay. Oh, Rob for next. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, moving on. Robert Cianfrocca, Salt Marsh Antiques, 224 Main Street.
I'll make a motion, we grant that.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
I recuse myself.
Stu? Go.
How you doing? How you doing?
Hi, Kurt. Hold on. Thank you.
Gene, thanks for coming.
Okay, Vincent Manzo Salvage, 586 Main Street. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bob?
Thank you.
Just remind those that just came in the room that this meeting is being videotaped and audio taped. And then we are still in citizens query for another 3 minutes till 1:15. Thank you, John. Okay, last one. Frank P. Todd River View Farm LLC, 275 Main Street. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion, we grant that.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I refuse.
Give me a second. No, give me a second. Wait. Thank you. Stu? Thank you. Okay. In about 2 minutes, I think we might be able to get through this. Review zoning board of appeals special permit application 183 Haverhill Street. The Board of Selectmen is on the ZBA application circulation list for review. Gregory Maffey has an application for 183 Havel Street. Does the Board of Selectmen have any comments on this application that they would like to send to the ZBA? Gentlemen, look this over. Any comments from the board?
So it's the frontage setback that's the issue?
It's 25 feet.
It's the frontage setback that's the issue, right, with
Yeah.
the zoning board? It looks like it's actually more than what the house setback is,
Okay.
according to the plan.
It says, please review attached application received by Raleigh Zoning Board of Appeals. Zoning Board of Appeals has scheduled a public hearing for this application for April 18th, 2013 at 7:30 p.m. Case number 13.02, Gregory Maffey, 183 Havel Street. Should you have any concerns or questions, please forward in writing to the ZBA.
Yeah, number 7, it says outside setback requirement. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's actually more than what the house is at this point, so I don't think I would have a problem with it. The
Yeah.
house, according to the plan, looks like it's closer to the street than actually what the garage will be.
Mhm.
Right.
I don't have a problem.
I don't either. No.
There's changes to non-conforming single-family residential structures.
Any comments? Nothing?
No.
Pass it along to the ZBA. We need a vote to pass it along?
I would just, will communicate that there are no comments from the Board of Selectmen on the application.
No comments from the board. Okay. All right. All right, well, that will be passed along. Okay. Okay, is 7/16. Citizen query is now over. We have an appointment. We did general business 1, 2, and 3, and we have appointment with Chris Thornton. Chris, will you come on up?
Sure. Up here, to the desk?
Sure, right there. Yeah, we'll put you up front.
All right, terrific. Good evening, how's everybody doing today?
But-
Good, good to see you all.
Okay, can I have yours? Joe, I picked up your stuff. So you put it
No.
down. Is that mine?
Yep,
You sure?
I have mine
Okay.
right here.
Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah, they should. I think
Chris Thornton discuss,
You have his letter, right? Do
excuse me?
you have his email?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Don't read into the record here. Chris Thornton, to discuss associate planning board seat. In response to the request, a recent request by Chairman Snow encouraging citizens to volunteer for positions on the planning board, Chris Thornton has emailed the planning board expressing interest in becoming a member of that board. And this is an email from Chris Thornton. Dear Sir, Madam, at a recent meeting of the Raleigh Board of Selectmen, Chairman Snow made a point to encourage local residents to consider volunteering their time and experience by becoming a member of the planning board. I have been a resident of the town since 2004 and have been a casual observer and occasional participant in local government. I am also a licensed attorney in the Commonwealth and have maintained a real estate law practice in Essex County since 2000. Because of my background and experience, as well as my interest in promotion of good local government, I would like to submit my name in consideration by the board to become a full member. Become a member filling one of the open vacancies that currently exist. Please let me know what information I need to submit to become a board member. You can reach me by email or contact me, the information below. I also can be reached at my home, 65 Emily Lane, Raleigh, Massachusetts. Thank you, Chris Thornton, Thornton Law Office. Okay. So, the Board of Selectmen, under bylaw 7.8.3.3, the Board of Selectmen may appoint a resident of the town to serve as an associate member of the planning board for a 2-year term. The chairperson of the planning board may appoint the associate member to act on the special permit applications in case absence, inability to act, or conflict of interest on the part of a regular member of the planning board, or in the event of a vacancy on the board. And I think I told you, Chris, that's how I got into
I believe you did mention that, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's a great opportunity, and I'm glad you took.
Yeah, no, it's something I've been interested in, and I was aware there was a vacancy. I wasn't quite sure how you went about filling those vacancies. I spoke to Mr. Bryant the other day, and he advised me that most of the seats are elected, and that while there is an upcoming election, that the ballot's closed at this point. So for that reason, I guess I'd like to continue to pursue the opening as an associate member.
Tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I'm 43. I live here in Raleigh. I've got 3 daughters, 7, 6, and 3. We live over by the country club, and in fact, I met all you gentlemen a couple of weeks ago when those issues were up before you. As I mentioned in my letter, I'm an attorney. I've been practicing since 1999. But my background in real estate goes a little further back than that. I've been working as a title examiner since 1993. So I have a pretty good understanding of land records, land use issues, title issues, but since 2000, my practice has been primarily representing lenders and banks in residential purchases and sales. Some land use, some condominium development, that type of thing, but primarily work with a bank in closing their transactions.
The planning board generally meets monthly on Wednesday evening. Are you available to attend meetings at that time?
I am, yeah. I frequently have appointments in the evening. I can, which I set as need be, and if this is something that obviously would take a priority, and I have the time available to do it.
Super. Any other questions from the board? Bob?
Yeah, as a committee member, you're considered a town employee, even though it's an appointed position.
Okay, I didn't realize it, yeah.
And the State Ethics Commission requires that you take a test.
Okay,
And it's getting a little bit more complicated these days than it used to be.
okay.
I think any of these folks that have taken it will probably agree with that.
Yeah.
It's actually a good
And
call.
I just need to ask you, would you be willing to take that testing?
I certainly will. I mean, I've taken some ethics courses and did take an ethics examination to become a member of the bar, but certainly if there's something else out there that needs to be...
It's pretty straightforward.
Sure.
You can do it on a computer, and then at the end, you print a certificate and just turn it into the town clerk.
Okay.
Okay?
They give you all kinds of examples. As a matter of fact, I just did mine last week.
Oh, is it? Okay, so it's... And is a passing grade considered good or bad? on
You guys
ethics?
got me great. You're gonna-
Just don't tell anybody, but you can't flunk it.
No.
They'll tell you if you're wrong and you try again.
Yeah, okay.
Joe?
Yes, there is information on the town's website regarding the rules, regulations, and bylaws of the planning board. Have you had a chance to review that information?
I have. There's a great deal of material out there, and to try to digest it all, I can't quite say that I don't have a photographic memory for it, but I do understand the outline, and that basically everything that comes before the board is decided based on the rules that are set forth in those bylaws, and that everything follows the procedures laid out in those bylaws.
You're right, there is a considerable amount of
Right.
information there.
What knowledge and background will you bring to the planning board? And I think you just answered that question for us.
Well, again, yeah, I think I've always had an interest in politics and government, and how it applies at all levels, but since I've been a landowner here in Raleigh for the last, going on 10 years, I understand how the local decisions impact people here in town and the future of the town. So while I don't have any direct experience in the planning side, I think I can take what experience I do have to apply it in a way that would benefit the board.
I think it's great that you'll take the associate member. That'll kind of get you in the door, and then
Sure.
you'll be working on some of the
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think that
plans that come through.
it seems like the associate member position allows me to exposure to it while not doing any real harm initially.
I really wasn't thinking of that, I thought it might be beneficial. to
Yeah, I do, I agree,
us.
I agree that,
I used to refer to it as the high chair.
yeah, okay, great, yeah,
They
yeah,
don't allow you to sit at the table, you have to sit in the high chair, and you kind of watch the, which is kind of nice, because it
Yeah.
gives you a flavor of what's going on.
right,
And then if there's somebody has to recuse themselves, or something comes up, somebody gets sick, you've been to all the meetings, and you can step in and,
Yeah.
take part in it.
Yeah.
And it's really a great experience, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
it's,
good, well, I think, I heard what you had to say about it and how that was your segue into where you are now, and I think that that's something I'd like to, pursue.
Great.
with that, do I have a motion?
Does the planning board?
Planning board.
Any questions of
No, I'm excited. I was the first associate member.
Oh, is that right?
And I've been on the board for 10 years.
Okay, terrific, well, hopefully I can
Yeah, I
follow
think it was
that
eight
pattern.
years ago, I became associate member, so.
Yeah, likewise, I was an associate member for 2 years.
Yeah, so it's
Good.
it's a great learning experience. Any other questions of the board?
No, very good candidate. I'll make a motion to appoint Chris Thornton to the associate member of the planning board.
Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chris, welcome.
Oh, I appreciate it, thank you,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you so much for stepping forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, we
that.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, I appreciate
I
it.
think
Look forward to
you'll
working
really,
with you.
I think you'll really enjoy it, and
Good.
you'll meet a whole
Good
bunch of new
start,
people
Chris.
in town.
Yeah,
Good start.
terrific,
Yeah.
thanks.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Yes, thank you, board.
Gene,
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for coming in tonight, Gene. Chris.
He'll work out.
Yeah, excellent. Okay. Oh, Vinny, can you open that? Oh, there we go. Hi, Laura.
Hello, gang.
Hi, John. Okay.
Don't close it?
No, don't close the door. We're gonna,
That's fine. Thank you.
thank you. Okay.
Sign-in sheet.
Don't close it.
No,
Sorry,
don't.
I know, I forget. I get carried away, but I'm thinking of the noise.
I know. No, don't close it.
So, do we have an extra package for John that was on March?
Okay, it is 26 minutes after the hour. We have an appointment at 7:30. Again, with Water Superintendent John Rizza, Business Manager Laura Hamilton, and Water Commissioner Tim Toomey to discuss the FY14 budget. So, I'm gonna move on to general business, number 4. ZBA public hearing notice for application at 244 Cable Street. The Board of Selectmen has received an attachment, the ZBA public hearing notice concerning 244 Cable Street. The town is in a butter within 300 feet. That is why the town is on your butters list. Town owns a strip of land near Meadows Lane subdivision.
This is the 7:30.
Case number 13.01.
And then this will be later in the
Raleigh,
evening, the whole
Town of
thing.
Raleigh zoning board of appeals. Public hearing will be held at the Town Hall Annex 39 Central Street on Thursday, the 18th of April 2013 at 7:45 to act on application received by New Way Construction Corporation, 244 Cable Street, Raleigh, Massachusetts. Applicant is requesting a variance under section 4.1 from the Board of Appeals to continue use of land and structures as an office building, a service garage, and retail store located at 244 Haverhill Street, Raleigh, Massachusetts. The property is in a residential district and is shown on the Assessor's Map 014, Lot 005. At the public hearing, members of the public may ask questions and present evidence that supports either the approval or denial of the petition. Donald W. Thurston, Chairman. Any comments from the board?
So this is just a notice of a
Just a
public
notice.
hearing that
Public hearing.
we, the town, as an abutter,
Would receive because we are in a
Yeah,
butter.
we have butter. Okay. So. Okay, all general business is taken care of for tonight. We have about 30 seconds left before the appointment, so I'm gonna do a little song and dance here while we...
Mr. Chairman, we revised the agenda a second time this evening for the election warrants.
Okay. Okay, I call for a motion to sign the election warrants.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Them on the floor.
Right here.
Okay, Bob? All right, that was general business in 5. There's no more general business after that, correct?
That's just this one.
Just tuned in, you wonder what we're doing, we're signing the town election warrants.
That have to be posted in, how many places? 7?
How many we got?
She
7.
just needs to name over. It's just one page. Yep. If you can.
I like the account. Those people just came into the room, just remind everybody that this meeting is being audio taped and videotaped. Thanks, Steve. What's mine?
He did.
Oh, this one.
You good?
We got names reversed here.
It's okay, Joe, you can sign it.
Sign above.
Yeah. Your turn.
Again, we're just finishing up signing the town election warrants. Everybody tuning in. And we're on just the end, about to end, general business number 5. And we'll be moving on to our appointment tonight at 7:30. Thank you. General. Okay, we finished up general business number 5. Moving on. It is 7:37. I apologize for being late tonight. We have an appointment with Water Superintendent John Rizzer, Business Manager Laura Hamilton, and Water Commissioner Tim Toomey to discuss the FY14 budget and articles. Okay. First, we have budget items. We need to change in line 13 to read extraordinary, unforeseen. The town council says that it should be relabeled to extraordinary and unforeseen because that is what the DOR uses in that example.
It's Form 1.
That'd be Form 1.
Form 1, yes.
Form 1. Okay, then also number 2, we need to have a paragraph under Water Department revenue statement with the purposes of rates and explanation of what the data is and some notes about the future. And I think it also would be good for the townspeople to see that the rates have been for the past 5 years and also, you know, projected out for the next 5 years. I think that way, you know, the townspeople can get a good feel of direction. This information should be included in the paragraph under Water Department revenue statement. Okay, so just that we can see where the rates have been for the previous 5 years, and then moving forward in the future, next 5 years.
You want a 5-year
thing here?
Yeah, I think that would be be appropriate.
I mean, the back 5 years and.
Back 5
project
years,
five
and then project out
ahead.
for 5 years. That way people, can see where we've been and where we're going.
Well, the 5 years in the front might be kind of really, the further you go out, it's gonna be more and more inaccurate, so. Because we're forecasting based on this year for next year.
Well, you're kind of forecasting, what you think, what the projection, where is it, you're looking at what your debt's gonna be, you're bringing all these, different components together, and then, looking out towards the future, just like you do for, for next year. You're kind of doing that, but now you're extrapolating out beyond another 4. And
Well, I mean, do you want to go from like fiscal year 14 up to 19? Or do you want the next 5 years? That's,
yeah, you got the 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, okay.
Yeah, 14 through 18.
okay.
So Chairman, would it be easy if we just start at Form 1 and kind of go through it line by line? With the water department.
The articles?
Starting with the budget, so we can make
Start with the
sure.
budget and stuff, okay.
It's dated 3/26/13. But in this, I think we
On
received this.
Form 1, Draft 3, revised by,
Form 1 draft, we're calling it draft 5. We got just a minor change.
Okay, I'm sorry, draft
in
5.
Fiscal 13 that was corrected. So I'm
Okay.
calling it just draft 5, just so we don't lose track of anything. But, so nothing's changed, and the top 7 lines, John and Tim and Laura can pitch in, everything, was what we just previously discussed. So there's no questions there from the board, is there?
Mhm.
And then 8 and 9, that's the maintenance expense. And then the engineering, the consulting engineering services that the water department needs for assistance is line 9. And then they break out how this is gonna look now in the town meeting warrant under Article 6. We'll continue with new treatment plant expenses. That's been clearly showcased here as a separate sort of area of the water budget for this fiscal 14, because it's only for 4 months or so in the next fiscal year that this will be underway in operation. So there's no question so far, right? Any? And then 12, as we discussed, setting aside for their capital improvement plans, upgrading hydrants and things like that. And then 13, this is where we just need to relabel that extraordinary and
emergency.
unforeseen.
So that would be relabeled
Extraordinary
extraordinary
and unforeseen
unforeseen
Reserves.
expense.
expense.
Re- And then take out line 14, because that's actually an article.
Yep, the stabilization fund, so that would be off. That's it for Form 1, Draft 5.
So then the numbers would just need to be, redone. 14 will come out because stabilization's an article. Won't appear in Article 6.
Any comments from the water board?
Okay, in summary, I guess we're gonna call this draft 5, this new.
Yeah, this will be Form 1, Draft 5.
Do you wanna date it this date?
I'm sorry?
Do you wanna date it this date, today's date, rather than the 3/26?
Yes, I think, well, I'm gonna write it on mine, so I know what the selectmen approved it, we'll have it in the minutes. But if you wanna just continue on, then, the The breakouts are shown,
So the total lines are gonna change, because we're gonna take out stabilization. Well, no, it's not.
Well, the stabilization is in there,
It's not in there, so,
Not in
okay,
there.
so just the.
just
the
renumber it.
so you just,
14 stabilization fund will come out, and just
Right,
the
so
end
you'll
with
go-
13.
down to that point, 1 to 13, and so debt service and cost
So the
of
numbers
debt.
aren't gonna change, they're gonna be fine, they'll be fine.
Yeah, your dollar figures are okay, you're just
Dollar
gonna
figures.
renumber your lines.
Yeah, so the lines on the left-hand column there will, so instead of having 15 and 16, it'll be 14 and 15. The debt service and cost of issuance.
And then the debt usually actually follows under that in the warrant articles, so on the next page where it starts
what?
with Angry Well, that's shown as line number 6, so that would just need to be corrected. So that would come after, I believe, either the cot of debt issuance or,
Number 6.
that's a line item that's read into the record at town meeting. On the next page, the third, I guess it's.
So the line items start with 6.
Well, the Pingree Well borrowing, all that's gonna be read, it's part of the town budget, the enterprise budget. So just renumber that, show 6, 7, 8, 9, but 6 and 7 are also other numbered elsewhere at the top of your budget, so. It's just renumbering it. I can work with John and Laura on that.
Okay.
There's nothing material here other than renumbering things, that's all.
Let's renumber it.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know, she'll tell us tomorrow.
Okay, next to Form 3. Draft 3, Form 3, Draft 3.
So this is the indirect cost, so were there some changes here?
Yes.
Nick, or,
So now,
Yeah, we took out, so there's 6 employees instead of 7, so there's $10,000 roughly change there.
Okay.
But the bottom, the total is what we need to do, what we need to have now.
Yeah, 117 is
It's after-
correct.
after-
117 is
Yeah,
correct.
it was 127, I think we looked at it last week.
so that shows up on Form 1, but the breakout, which is also Article 7 in the warrant, is shown on that Form 3,
Okay.
so.
Form 4, Draft 3.
This was the breakout that the selectmen wanted to see by position,
Mm-hmm.
and also the cost out on overtime. So that's all been estimated for fiscal 14 and broken out, and overtime costs are represented, once again, on Form 1, line 4. So that would be for all the hourly employees.
Okay. Nothing needs to be corrected here. Moving on to Form 5, Water Expense, Draft 3.
So this is the breakout, nothing's changed here.
Nothing.
I can see from the final number is consistent with the previous versions. This is
All right.
what you worked on before, Mr. Chairman.
And then the next one will be the rates, monthly
Yes.
rates.
So this is part of the budget package. It's an estimate, and the water board will probably at some point have to have a formal public hearing advertised to vote on these rates. So these are proposed to support the expenditures in this budget. This won't run in the article, but this is the breakout. So I think there's been changes here that the water board made last week. I don't know if Tim or
Tim, you want
John
to talk about that?
want to talk about that.
I'm sorry, I was.
The rate changes?
Changes on the rates?
Mm-hmm.
Because of the, some of the modifications or refining some of the numbers on Form 1, the rates did drop again, which is good news. I think it went from like 15.40 down to 14.91 on the Tier 1 rates, which is it's in the right direction. So we're happy to report that the rates dropped once again, so.
That's approximately, what, 49 cents?
Yeah,
Okay, per 1,000 gallons. Okay.
and the other ones went down to 17.91 on the tier 2, and then 19.91 on the tier 3.
Any comments from the board?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Tim, on that?
No, it just, it demonstrates that, you know, I think we're done modifying and refining all the numbers. I think we've really did it again. We were able to find some more breaks, and so we got the rates down even further. I commend our people for trying so hard in this joint effort to get these things down.
Sure.
So now this has to be at an open hearing that's been posted in the newspaper?
Well, I think
Is
that's
it-
what their current practice is, anytime there's a water rate change, the
At
water
which
board,
you'll vote the rates formally.
we'll have to, yes, before the end of the fiscal year.
So we'll schedule a meeting and then have a hearing. And then we'll vote at that hearing, you know, with entertaining questions about the rates. And if there's any input from our town people or ratepayers, you know, we'll certainly consider it. And the only thing I'm not sure about is maybe when we have the town meeting coming up, so when should we, is there a minimum time before the town meeting we should have our hearing?
Well, anytime.
I'm not sure what your customary practice is. Do you
Okay.
recall, like, what time of the fiscal year do you normally do that? I presume you did that last year because the rates went up on July 1st. Was it before town meeting? I don't remember seeing the
remember
notice.
either.
I
Yeah.
think it
What
was
do it?
before town
Remember,
meeting.
John? Yeah. So we have to look at our customary time period that, you know, is before we have the town meeting,
Okay.
in case there's any changes to be made, so.
That was
Could you
my,
identify yourself, please?
yes, Joan Peterson from 25 Newbury Road, and
Thank you.
also the town moderator. That was one of the questions I wanted to know, because when these rates are going to be presented, if they haven't been voted on at town meeting, I needed to know, is this, maybe you can check your previous minutes or whatever to see, was it done before town meeting last year? So that if this is done, the hearing's been done, these are the rates that are set. Now we're gonna work on the rest of the general budget. If not, people need to know that, because that was my question. When is this public hearing gonna be, before or after town meeting?
Thank you, John.
Well, it should be before, I believe.
I would think so.
Yeah. And it sounds to me like we should have it sooner rather than later, so we're supposed to meet with the finance committee, I think, on Wednesday, is it?
On Wednesday,
Tomorrow.
Wednesday,
Is it
isn't it?
Tuesday?
Tomorrow at.
Is it tomorrow?
7:15, I believe.
Okay, so,
FinCom meetings are starting to become a blur.
yeah. So, after that, and after that scrutiny, we'll get going on posting a hearing.
Okay. All right. All right, moving on to the last sheet, Water Department revenue statement.
Mr. Chairman, just so we can be clear now, under this this table will run, that's for informational purposes. It's got a new headline. It
Yes.
seems to have been changed significantly, so maybe if the Water Department could just discuss what was changed from previous years, and then what exactly the selectmen are looking for a description, maybe a narrative, an explanatory note underneath the table describing the revenues, and what you want for rate information. Right.
I think we talked about a more of a narrative with this, in order to be able to interpret it. I'm not sure why we didn't bring it in today. But that, and forecasting out another 5 years, we're gonna have to go back and kind of refine this to make it more presentable with the explanations on it, so.
Just so I'm clear on the 5-year forecast.
Yes.
Because I have done it out. Do you want us to include our capital? Or do you want us to, because we took out capital in the rates this year. So as we project it out, I do have a 5-year capital plan. Should I include that in the rates or not include it? So that you're comparing,
I would,
We only brought it out this year, I think, to make sure we got a lower rate. So I think we're gonna have to, we can't put some of these capital plans aside, so we're gonna have to put it in there.
I think if you have a caveat that these are projected only, I think,
yeah,
is that what?
project and explain that you have down on the bottom, you have capital, plans to incorporate with this particular year as you're, moving out.
Mhm.
So that's the reason why this will affect that rate at that particular time.
because when I looked at the budget, just without, it was pretty even keel. Going up, not even 2%. But then when I threw in the capital,
Mm-hmm.
there's some years where we might do a looping project, so you're gonna see your rates go down and then go back up and then go back down if the board, if the town decides to do the looping. And then kinda after 5 years, it's gonna level out.
I think, adding that caveat would be good, for the,
Yeah, that kind of projection with that kind of explanation would go a
So
long
that
way
people
to
would
it.
understand what a capital plan is, okay. Cause that's gonna make the rates, it's gonna go up.
Depends upon what is voted.
but
gonna go
at
down
least the
and
town, you'll be able to look at it, and townspeople will be able to look and say, all right, why is this going up? Maybe a little, something down, little in notes, be able to explain that to them.
Right.
So
Well,
we'll
one-
include the capital plan, okay.
At one point, Laura, probably fourth or fifth meeting back, you presented a.
Yeah, I have it, I have it all here.
Okay, yeah,
It's-
you did
it's-
present
it's just a little
like in
chart.
2015.
I got out to 2000, I haven't shown it to the board yet though,
Right.
unfortunately, so I don't know what the timing of all this is. If you need this tomorrow, then we're not meeting until Thursday,
Okay, the water board.
the water board meeting,
Okay.
cause we didn't know this 5-year, I didn't,
Well, I think
Yeah.
basically all we're looking for is to get on track tonight and approve the budget for the upcoming fiscal year. And
'Cause it's
the
gonna go-
capital expense, like you said, Laura, it's gonna go up, gonna go down, gonna level off. I mean, there's things that you need that you cut this year that you probably might need next year.
well, that's what, we cut out,
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I don't
well,
know if you want
make it comfortable
to
for the
take out
people
the
this year.
capital altogether and just look at the budget, because the budget is pretty even keel, otherwise, the rates are
Mhm.
not gonna go up. But when you throw in the capital, then you're gonna see
It's
it.
not going, Joe.
Well, that particular year, again, you have notes
Okay.
lower left to explain
Okay,
that particular year. Okay.
all right, so I will include that with a note.
Is the board satisfied with the revamping of this table? I know that a
Anything
lot of
else?
time was spent on that last week by
Yes.
water department staff, and Karen Summit's here, and
How's the board feel about what we've seen tonight?
it was somewhat ambiguous. There were merchandising and jobbing. Some of those lines that were in the previous informational table have been taken out and I think consolidated in some format that I think is probably easier for the water department to
Mm-hmm.
tap into for what their revenue estimates are gonna be in the future and what they've actually received. For example, fiscal 2012, they've got the actuals there, and I think it's based on what they actually received and both into these categories.
I think it gives us more information, better information for us to work with.
Okay, so that, I think that takes care of budget request sheet. That good, Tim?
So if they could just send us a draft for the warrant, this, like, if you can get this done maybe tomorrow, the finance committee is gonna be looking at the warrant on Wednesday. But I think they're gonna wanna look at water articles
Mhm.
while they meet with the water board tomorrow. If we could get a draft of that and subject, of course, to final approval by the water board of just what this explanatory note on the informational statement. We can make, if the water board has some changes, we'll have to have the selectmen review that and make sure it's okay, but
Anything else we need in this beginning?
other than we just have to get this done this week.
Keep it done for tomorrow. Okay,
The articles?
the articles? Okay. We'll do the annual town meeting first. The draft, do you have copies of this, of the articles?
Yes.
Which one?
Do the water articles for the town meeting, warrant, April 8th, to, this is, the Board of Selectmen to review draft. Okay, Joe, you wanna help me out reading?
Sure.
Okay.
Article number 6, Water Department budget, to see if the town will transfer and appropriate the sum of,
Well, that's draft, that's why I
That's
don't have
draft.
it
Okay.
here. Yeah.
from the Water Department Enterprise Fund for the fiscal year 2014, and to include in the fiscal year 14 budget line number 13, extraordinary and unforeseen, to be expended only, that should be extraordinary and unforeseen expenses, right?
Yes,
Yes.
To be expended only after approval by a majority vote of the Board of Selectmen for a water department expense that is deemed to be either extraordinary or unforeseen, or take any other action relative thereto.
so, I worked with Judy Pickett on this one today, because we do have, the new insertion of this reserve fund that,
Mhm.
is labeled Emergency Operation and Maintenance Reserve number 13. Because it's a new budget line, and the selectmen had discussions with the water board over what conditions access to this budget line would be, and it was agreed that the Board of Selectmen would be the board to approve, similar to the Finance Committee Reserve Fund, which it follows the same logic, but the selectmen are referenced in Chapter 44 under the enterprise statute, so the selectmen will be the body that will approve any request for transfers out of that line. So it needs to be made part of the motion for the water budget. That's why we have this additional language that we normally wouldn't see in the article or in the motion.
Is this a brand new line, number 13? Okay.
Okay, Article 7, to see if the town will vote to transfer from the Water Department Enterprise Fund to the general fund the sum of blank for the following items, that any other money spent by the general government on behalf of the water department be reimbursed to the general fund from the Water Department Enterprise Fund fiscal year 2014, or take any other action relative thereto, inserted by the Board of Water Commissioners. That good?
Yeah, that's a standard article.
Okay, standard article.
Like a standard
Joe,
article.
you want to read 8?
Article 8, to see if the town will vote to create a water department stabilization fund pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 5B, to be used for the purpose of major capital purchases and to offset future rate increases or take any other action relative thereto, inserted by the Board of Water Commissioners.
Okay, good.
So, once again, I worked with town council. It was the desire of the water board to set up a special purpose stabilization fund. It will act similar to the town's general fund stabilization fund and operate in the same manner. So this would be sort of the enabling legislation, if you will, under the town meeting to create that fund. And we've clearly stated it's for their major capital purchases, and then also to offset what they believe could be future rate increases, because they will have to go out and maybe buy the membrane. So this would be used to keep things pretty consistent. So Judy had tweaked it a little bit, and this is the final version, so this has been approved by the town's attorney.
And just an explanatory note, passage of this article requires 2/3 vote. These funds will be used for the eventual replacement of the membrane filter at the new water treatment plant or unforeseen capital expenditures. Expenditures from the Water Department Stabilization Fund can only be authorized by town meeting in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40. Okay, Article 9, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $344,000 free cash to the Water Department Stabilization Fund or take any other actions relative thereto. Passage of this article requires passage of Article 8 and a 2/3 vote.
A little confusing.
Excuse me?
That seems a little confusing. Shouldn't it be 344,000 from the water department free cash?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes,
I
you're
think
right.
that'll be the first, her first question will be the first question somebody will ask. Where is this $344,000 coming from?
Exactly. Yes.
I'm playing devil's advocate
No, you're
here
right.
tonight.
This is a
You're right.
draft.
I'm not being,
You got it,
yeah,
Karen.
No,
we're
no.
playing
It's not
devil's
set up for
advocate here, because we wanna
speculation. We don't have
move
that
town
money in
meeting
there.
along.
That's right.
Cash,
Yes,
right?
Right.
Yes, so we'll insert water
Karen,
department
thank
free
you.
cash.
right.
Yeah,
Good point.
that's the
That was a very
that's the
good
purpose
point.
of the meeting tonight, make sure things float.
It's
Okay,
in the right
thank
end.
you, Karen, Karen.
So, Mr. Chairman, would the Board of Selectmen then want to have a Board of Selectmen approves, like the Finance Committee, or Finance Committee recommends, Board of Selectmen recommends?
Yes,
So then the board would then need to take a vote, if we could, on these articles.
okay.
And if- and
We're
the
recommending
article-
Articles 6, 7, and 8, and 9.
If the board is ready to vote on the water budget, subject to the additional
On the annual
language
town
that you
meeting.
requested, we can get going and put Board of Selectmen recommends on this, so when the Finance Committee sees it, they will know that the board has taken a position on this.
Do I have a motion from the board?
I'll make that motion, that we approve, as printed, no, not as printed. It's gonna be a change.
With
in-
that
Well, everything
correction.
is
Nine.
at draft right now.
Yeah.
This has to
The
be
draft
proofread
of,
and, yeah.
Articles 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Okay,
I'll second that.
I have a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that by voting on that, you now approve the water budget as
Yes.
presented, subject to the additional language.
Okay. Moving on to the special town meeting warrant. Article 20, Joe, you want to read it first?
Yes. Article 20, to see if the town will vote to transfer and appropriate the sum of $6,000 from line 163, water treatment plant interim loan interest of Article 6 of the annual town meeting of April 30th, 2013, for the purpose of, 1, purchasing and repairing the fence at well station number 3. 2, for the purchase of new
2012.
keys for the storage tank in well station number 2, number 3, and number 5. And third, to update the existing alarm system at 401 Central Street, the storage tank at well stations number 2, number 3, and number 5, or take any other action relative thereto, inserted by the Board of Water Commissioners. Explanatory note, updating the security of the well stations in storage tank has been identified as a priority for the Water Department. Passage of this article is necessary to safeguard these facilities. Protected and secured water facilities are a requirement of the Department of Environmental Protection water regulations.
Any discussion on Article 20?
There's just a typo on April 30th, 2012, but I don't know if there's any other comments from, substantial comments.
All right, Article 21, to see if the town will vote
Does
to...
the board wanna take a
Oh.
vote on that, or
When
do
do
you
we-
wanna do it collectively? It might be easier just to vote them each.
Okay, let's vote them as we go. Article 20, do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion, accept that as.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Article 21, to see if the town will vote to transfer and appropriate the sum of $2,352.96 from line 149 Water Department wage of Article 6 of the annual town meeting, April 30th, 2012, typo, to be added to line 148 business manager salary of Article 6 of the annual town meeting, April 30th, 2012, for a total appropriation of $52,024.96, or take any other action relative thereto. Inserted by the Board of Water Commissioners, Finance Committee, explanatory note. The purpose of this article is to pay the business manager for a time that she was worked as acting superintendent. The rate is the difference between the business manager's current salary and the current salary of the superintendent. The Board of Selectmen and Personnel Board support passage of this article. Any discussion on Article 21?
So it is April 30th, 2012 is correct. Yeah.
April 30th, 2012, yes.
This is a fiscal 13
Yes.
change.
I'll make a motion that we grant that.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Second
Aye.
is Stewie.
Yep.
Okay, Article 22, to see if the town will vote to transfer and appropriate the sum of $1,200 from line 163 Water Treatment Plant interim loan interest of Article 6 of the annual town meeting of April 30th, 2013, for the purpose of purchasing 2 file cabinets for the Water Department Business Office, or take any other action relative thereto. Inserted by Board of Water Commissioners, Finance Committee. Any comment on that, on Article 22? Okay, can I have a motion from the board?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Article 23, to see if the town will vote to transfer and appropriate the sum of $5,000 from line 163 Water Treatment Plant interim loan interest of Article 6 of the annual town meeting of April 30th, 2013, for the purpose of purchasing emergency safety equipment, or take any other action relative thereto. Inserted by Board of Water Commissioners, Finance Committee. Explanatory note, passage of this article will allow the Water Department to purchase emergency safety gear and protective safeguard employees in the course of their duties. The items to be purchased for this appropriation include a fall protection tripod, gas detectors, and air ventilation system. Any questions on Article 23?
I'll make a motion that we approve Article 20.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Article 24, to see if the town will vote to transfer and appropriate the sum of $1,500 from line 163 Water Treatment Plant interim loan interest of Article 6 of the annual town meeting, April 30th, 2012, to be added to line 154 new water building principal in Article 6 of the annual town meeting of April 30th, 2012, for the total appropriation of $11,500, or take any other action relative thereto. Inserted by Board of Water Commissioners, Finance Committee. Explanatory note, when the town refinanced the debt last year, the debt schedules for the Water Department building and town-owned Pingree property were mislabeled. The result was that the underfunding of the principal and interest on the water building debt. Any questions on Article 24?
I'll make a motion that we approve Article 24 as printed.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Article 25, to see if the town will vote to transfer and appropriate the sum of $66 from line 163 water treatment plant interim loan interest of Article 6 of the annual town meeting of April 30th, 2012, to be added to line 155, new water building interest in Article 6 of the annual town meeting, April 30th, 2012, for a total appropriation of $1,535, or take any other action relative thereto, inserted by Board of Water Commissioners, Finance Committee. Explanatory note, when the town refinanced the debt last year, the debt schedules for the water department building and town-owned Pingree property were mislabeled. The result was the underfunding of the principal and interest on the water building debt. Any questions on Article 25?
I'll make a motion that we accept Article 25 as printed.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Article 26, to see if the town will vote to transfer and appropriate the sum of $10,000 from line 163, water treatment plant interim loan interest of Article 6 of the annual town meeting, April 30th, 2013, to be used by the water department superintendent for the purpose of developing standard operating procedures or take any action relative thereto, inserted by Board of Water Commissioners, Finance Committee. Explanatory note, passage of this article will allow the water department to contract with an engineering firm to develop, write, and implement a comprehensive set of standard operating procedures for the operation of the water department. The contract will also provide training for the water department employees. The standard operating procedures will establish a uniform set of procedures for employees to follow in accordance with pertinent water quality laws and regulations, guidelines, and sound water system practices. The complete set of standard operating procedures will serve as a training and operational resource for the water department staff members. Additionally, the Department of Environmental Protection strongly recommends that the town establish these procedures in providing the pertinent training for employees. Any comments on Article 26?
I'll make that motion for Article 26.
I have a motion for Article 26. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Article 27, to see if the town will vote to transfer appropriate sum of $20,000 from line 163, water treatment plant interim loan interest of Article 6 of the annual town meeting, April 30th, 2012, to be added to line 150, maintenance and expense of Article 6 of the annual town meeting of April 30th, 2012, for the total appropriation of $475,000, or take any action relative thereto, inserted by Board of Water Commissioners, Finance Committee.
This one I didn't see an explanatory note, but maybe Mr. Toomey can confirm. That would be for contracts, to cover the cost of contract services, is that correct?
Yes.
I think they probably want to, they can write up something.
Yeah, I think we need something, a little explanatory note in the bottom of that.
No, it's coming out of this line. So I'll write something that says that it's to cover the cost of contract services that the town was required to have this fiscal year.
Okay.
We just said emergency certified operating services.
Emergency, okay, it must have got cut off then when I
Yeah.
typed it. To cover,
Okay, for Article,
27.
excuse me?
27.
Yeah, we're good.
I'll
27?
make a motion that we accept Article 27.
Okay,
as printed.
I have a motion for Article 27. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay, that's it? Yes, Joan?
Could I just ask a few questions and maybe give you a point of my information? I'm looking at, and I haven't even seen the regular town
I remember seeing it.
articles yet, but I think we're gonna end up with 2 nights because the special has much more than just these few articles.
Okay.
Okay, so, I think that we may need to have, because of these water articles and of the situation with what's going on, that we need to have town council make this very clear that, if none of these are passed, and we're gonna be in default. Am I
Yes.
right, am I wrong?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so I'm trying to what's the right, I'm trying to diffuse town meeting.
Yes.
Maybe that's not the right word to use,
I
but
had
I'm
a, I had
trying
a,
so
I had a
that we
discussion with
can-
somebody today about this.
Yes, you don't know the discussions I've had.
I bet, you know, I can imagine, I'd probably the same discussions I've had, John.
Right, and,
You're trying to anticipate.
yes, I'm trying to anticipate what's going on. And one of the things that I will make, if she states this, then I'm gonna make it very clear that this is town meeting for the budget. This is not to talk personnel, present, former. This is not for anything to discuss what was done procurement-wise. That
Right.
is completely,
yes.
it will not, I will not allow it
Right.
on town meeting floor.
Good.
Okay, because it'll be a violation,
Good,
first
Joan.
of all,
I
of
think
the
you're
open
right.
meeting. And I'm gonna, you know, they may not like hearing it from me, but that's how it's gonna be. And this, we're gonna discuss the budget. You have other issues or other problems.
Mm-hmm.
You
You know,
have our
everything is
support on
being,
that.
yes, you can address the board at their regular meeting, but they all, people have to understand that when you talk names or anything, you're now getting
No.
into where you
No.
cannot go.
No, you don't wanna go there.
And that's exactly, and it's not gonna happen, at least if I'm running town meeting,
Right.
okay?
That's why we pay you the big bucks as
Oh,
town moderator.
That's right, that's right. And now you can all see what David's been living with for fun. My other question, I think somebody's gonna bring it up, is how much interest is in this line 163 that we're moving this all around here? Who can explain, you know, maybe come up with, because I think somebody's gonna say that, we're moving, you know, $6,000, we're moving this 23, we're doing a 1,200, you know.
Right.
It's, was this interest that has accumulated, or?
No, what it was last year when we were working on the budget, we did not know what we would be required to pay with the interim loans.
Okay.
So there was quite a large amount put in that line. We didn't know if we would have to make a principal payment or how much we would have to pay in interest.
Okay,
So there was a very conservative estimate made in there,
and now we're moving it around.
and now we're moving it
And
around.
I think she may have to, Karen may have to get up and explain that, because I think once
Sure.
it goes through one or two, somebody's gonna say, wait a minute, where's all this money coming from?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Good point.
Yeah.
Very good
I'm,
point.
I'm always, you know, maybe sometimes I don't look at the big picture, I look at the little things to try and make it so that the big picture looks much better. And I
Right.
think by doing with, town council, you know, diffusing as much as we can at the beginning, and then maybe an explanation of these 6 or 7 articles coming up, what you
Where it
just
came
said,
from, absolutely.
and I think we can move it along smoothly. Now, as you know, when you get to the rest of this, you've got dog licenses and other things, and then we've got some changes coming up, what is it, bylaws or zoning changes?
Yes.
Okay, so, does anybody else look that we may be doing this for 2 nights?
John, I've looked it over.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's
Okay.
hard to say.
Okay.
You know, it may flow right through. Then again, we may have, you know, something, you know, unforeseen.
We've
But
got,
I don't know,
30,
everybody else is
we've got
kind of.
30 some odd articles just at the special.
Right.
It is hard to read, Bob, and it depends on what people are interested in.
Okay.
I know the last time we changed the dog bylaw, we got into
Yes.
That's why I said.
a 1-hour discussion
The
on
only
the
good
fines,
thing,
so.
the only good thing about the dog bylaws at the end of the special, you're gonna keep the audience. And with the other changes at the regular meeting, you're gonna keep the audience, because
Actually-
those are the things that people stay at town meeting for.
Actually, if you explain to them, it's because of state
State,
legislation
absolutely.
that's been passed, we need to change our bylaws to conform to that new legislation.
And and it's the same as exactly what I just says with town council coming in and saying for the water department, you know, so that we don't go default, we have to pass these. The same as it comes to, it could be Ms. Hazen to get up, it could be one member of this board to get up and say the same thing on the dog stuff. That the state has passed this, and now we have to come into conformance with the state.
With the state
Yeah.
requirements, right.
So, that was just, you know, I'm just trying to, like I said, devil advocate and keep things diffused, and let's try and see if we can move things along smoothly.
This will be another article.
Yeah, I inadvertently left this off,
This will be what, 28?
so this will be added right after, yes.
On the special
Number
one.
28,
This will be, it's special?
special town meeting.
Okay, so it's special. Okay, STM, and this will be Article 28, correct?
Yes.
All right. So, to see if the town, this is Article 28, to see if the town will vote to transfer appropriate the sum of $25,000 for line 163 water treatment plant interim loan interest of Article 6 of the annual town meeting of April 30th, 2013 for the purpose of paying unemployment claims associated with the public department staffing change inserted by Board of Water Commissioners. This article needs to be voted on. Okay.
The dates on these things are, it's 2012, isn't it?
April 30th.
Yeah, well,
April
I'll
30th,
correct, that's
2002.
just a typo, we can correct
The
that.
typo.
Yeah, there's a few of them in there.
Yeah, we've
Okay.
been catching them. We haven't
So-
proofread anything at this point, so.
I have a motion on Article 28.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That was a tie between the two of you. I don't know.
Bob got it.
Bob got it, okay.
The ticker went off. So Bob.
Is that just a dollar amount, or is that money that's anticipated to be used for unemployment?
That's
That-
anticipated,
Oh, anticipated to be used for unemployment.
yes.
So you know that's gonna bring up a few questions.
Well,
Okay.
in general, the town has a budget line, but we can't use that budget line for anything that could arise out of the enterprise fund
Okay.
with respect to any insurance, whether it be health insurance, unemployment insurance, or other things. So they should actually have, one thing that we discovered in the process is they actually need to have that factored in as part of the operating expense.
And that's a good explanation of it, okay?
Okay. Is there anything else?
No, and if you, Mr. Chairman, if you would just want to inform the water department that the selectmen have an article on the warrant, I think we discussed in the past, for the consent order to transfer 15,875 out of the same line, 163.
Same budget line.
We don't have,
That would be part of the
that
later
would be out of that same
discussion.
budget line.
Yeah.
Okay. So it would be for the DEP consent order?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's gonna be a separate article?
Separate article with the selectmen's articles.
It won't
Okay.
become under the water department.
Special.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else? I think that's it. Anything from the board?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Tim, John,
Thank you.
Laura, thank you for coming in
Thank
tonight.
you.
Thank you.
Okay. Karen, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And Joan, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you gonna go over the rest of it? or-
Take it easy.
All
Take
right.
it easy.
Thanks, Tim.
What do we go?
Yeah, so I think they just have one other matter, and then they're gonna take up the warrants in full.
All
Yeah.
right, I'll stay for a little bit.
Shouldn't be.
No, please do.
Please do or please don't?
Please do.
You need an audience?
No, we like your company, Joan. Okay, moving on to new business. Okay. Discuss the highway surveyor's position. We have lost a true public servant in passing of our highway surveyor, Scott Levitt. Scott put his heart and his soul into his job. He worked tirelessly up until the time he went into the hospital. The town will never fully understand all that he did. We can never replace Scott. He was one in a million. He dedicated his life to keeping the town roads maintained and safe. Now that a respectful amount of time has passed, we need to come to terms with a vacancy in this important town position. The Board of Selectmen can appoint a person to fill the vacancy until the next annual town election, 2014. The Board of Selectmen needs to determine the amount of salary for the temporary position. Okay, I'm just going to read out of Chapter 41, Section 11. As stated in this section, the term vacancy includes a failure to elect. If a vacancy occurs in a town office other than the office of selectman, town clerk, treasurer, collector of taxes, or auditor, the selectman shall, in writing, appoint a person to fill such vacancy. If there is a vacancy in a board, consisting of 2 or more members, except a board whose members have been elected by proportional representation under Chapter 54A. The remaining members shall give written notice thereof within 1 month of said vacancy to the selectmen, who with the remaining member or members of the board shall, after 1 week's notice, fill such vacancy by roll call vote. The selectmen shall fill such vacancy if such board fails to give said notice within the time herein specified. A majority of the votes of the officers entitled to vote shall be necessary to such election. The person, if appointed or elected, shall be a registered voter of the town and shall perform the duties of the office until the next annual town meeting or until another is qualified. Again, let me go back to what I said about Scott. He is somebody, we will not see his like again. But it's time for us to move on, and we need somebody in this position. So I want to open it up to a discussion of the board.
Well, there's one, the highway foreman, Ron O'Keefe, has been filling in and practically fallen into Scott's performance, what he's done, trying to perform the job the way that Scott done it. Myself, I can't see the big changes that he's made down there that Scott would be doing today if he was here. But God love the guy, passed away.
Yeah.
And
But what we're looking for here is just to post a position, or are we appointing?
Well, we have an opening here, and I think Jack has brought up a point. But Stu, do you have anything to say?
The problem I see here, to answer Jack's question, the person so appointed or elected shall be a registered voter of the town.
Yeah, but I think, Sue, that covers a different section of this appointing law. It's if there's a double board, in other words, if there's as an example, we've been talking to the water department tonight. If the water department is a 3-member board, if one of those members resigns, then it's up to the remaining 2 members to notify the Board of Selectmen within 30 days. Then you hold a hearing, public meeting, and the remaining 2 members and the Board of Selectmen would then appoint somebody to fill that vacancy, and that would have to be a registered voter. This isn't a board that we're replacing, it's an elected official. So it's a little bit different.
so what you're saying, Bob, is I know the acting foreman right now that's filling in does not reside in Raleigh, but he could be appointed if I'm reading right too, he could be appointed to fill till the next.
The unexpired term.
Unexpired.
Until
the
town
next
meeting
annual
2014.
election.
Yeah, but I mean, it would only carry up to the year, right? I think Scott had.
Well, until the next annual election.
Right.
Right, which is, we don't have any candidates at this point for the election. So
It's still a year away.
There's still a vacancy there. So you basically a year from now.
Right.
Then, unless your circumstances changed, he would no longer be eligible.
Right.
So, and as far as Scott goes, I worked around town for a number of years. I was appointed manager of the municipal light plant, and Bob Hurley was the highway surveyor. And Bob could do anything with nothing. I mean, it just was absolutely amazing how he could keep that equipment running and not spend any money. It was phenomenal. And he actually hired Scott as one of his employees when Scott got out of the service. And when Bob decided to retire, I said, well, that's it, we're never gonna be able to replace Bob. You'll never be able to do what nobody will be able to do what he did as far as keeping that place going. Fortunate for us, Scott decided to take the position. And lo and behold, Scott was a chip off the old block. He just fell right into that and did exactly the same thing that Bob had done. Bob had trained him marvelously. Scott did it all. And he just kept going and did the same thing that Bob did. Kept those trucks going, kept the place running, took care of the roads. And I hate to say it again, but I'm not sure we can pull it off twice and get somebody that'll do that.
Right.
But I do think that Ron, as Jack has said, has been under Scott's wing.
He's been trained by him.
Right.
Exactly. And then Scott is kind of, I don't think he planned to do it, but I think he actually did get Ron to a point where Ron can step in and take that position and continue and keep things going.
Yeah, I think he'll do a fine job. I think he's has the training from Scott.
So I think
Scott's done a marvelous job.
I think he going along fine.
Yeah. I think we need to approach Ron and see if he's willing to accept the position. I think we need to work on the salary compensation a little bit. Obviously, Ron has not been here as long as Scott. Doesn't have all of the knowledge that Scott had as far as the history of the department and the history of the town roads and things. But I think he could step in and take care of it. So
Certainly do.
I think we should do that. We should look into that. See
Yeah,
how
I
it
think
comes
the,
out.
the tutelage of Scott, you can see it in Ron. I mean, I've asked some questions of Ron just recently, and he has everything. He's right up to date.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm very
Debbie-
impressed with him.
Debbie and I had the privilege to sit down with him and work on his budget. He was kind of I don't want to use the word, didn't know what he was doing, but he was a little bit of a drip because of the budget. It's his first time around trying to put a budget together. And luckily, our administrator stepped in and helped him with that. And I sat in on that with him. And he's picking it up very well. He had a good handle on it. And he and Scott had communicated very well together as far as setting up budgets for what Scott was looking to do. And Ron's bringing some of those suggestions from Scott forward to try to improve the department.
I have to say one thing, 5 years ago when I sat here first time, looked at the budget, it was a little bit different, so.
It can be intimidating.
Yeah, it can be.
It really can.
So.
And additionally, if I can just add, since actually Scott, before even Scott went into the hospital, I met with Scott and Ron, and we had a plan lined up anyway, when things were much positive. Ron checked in every day with me, updates on different things that were happening in the town, any of the snow concerns and issues, and when plowing would be done and sidewalks would be done. He communicated with the Selectmen's office every day, at least once a day, every day.
Yeah.
So I really have to say he is really a team player. He believes in interdepartmental cooperation. So he has followed in a good role model, which is Scott Levitt, who always communicated well with the Selectmen's office. And any questions that we get here, we would feed down to him and, with Scott, and he would always respond to constituent requests. Ron has followed that same path, and he's been very responsive to any inquiries we receive up here that pertain to that department. But he does follow up every day with an update on what's going on.
This is one of those positions really important in the town because, it's what your roads look like, and
Yeah.
what your streets are gonna look like, and, I mean, Scott did so much behind the scenes. We all know that, those of us have worked with Scott up close, and, I mean, it was almost like a Radar O'Reilly and MASH. He was one step ahead of you before you asked the question. He had already moved forward and, had a solution, so. And Ron, he seems to follow in that,
May
the same vein.
May I just say that as the director of the Housing Authority, you know, I've started my 20th year. There wasn't any time that if I picked up the phone and says to Scott, you know, it's a little icy here at Plantation for my elderly, can you come down? He says, you know, my truck is up on the Glen Street. He says, on its way back. I says, that's fine. I mean, the sand barrels were right down there as soon, and when the time's up, they take them out. If I asked to have some paving done or anything, he added us in, and the Housing Authority paid for our share of what it was. Exactly what you said. He never said no to anybody, and if he couldn't take care of the problem, he would tell you. But, and I think, in fairness to Ron, I think he was trained,
Yeah.
you know,
I'll tell you, Joan, during one of the snowstorms, when Scott was in the hospital, I called Ron about the crosswalk crossing the school, Pine Grove. And I said there was a mound and they couldn't see the crossing guard, Judith, you know, what's Judith's last name? Robillard. Judith Robillard. She said, they can't see me. I said, hold on one second. And I called down to Ron. Ron was up 20 minutes later, cleared it out. So, I mean, that's what Scott would do. So.
And like Joan said, being a member too of the Housing Authority, when Ron took over, Tony had called him. We had big mounds.
Yeah.
And he was there. Am I right?
Right, with the bulldozer,
Yeah,
moved
come
out
down with a
because,
big front
you
end
know, the
loader.
older you get, your visibility, and it's that circle
Yep.
and
It was
everything.
pretty
and
high. He was down there himself. And
Maybe
did
we
it
can
similar
convince
like
Ron to move to Raleigh.
Yeah. Well, I
Yes.
think maybe
Yes.
that could be a point, but I'm gonna just say though, I mean, working with him down there, and I see him about every day. Scott's said, you know, Cookie, we got to get a backhoe. And, you know, he went and got prices and got the best deal we could do,
Yep.
knocked it down, we traded a couple of pieces of equipment that maybe would make Scott mad to get rid of the old
Yeah, I know.
Aldine, they called it, the big
Aldine,
grader.
yeah.
You know, and things, but I mean, Ron is, to me, he's following like Bob just said with Bob Purley. Scott come in.
That's right.
This guy's worked for him for, what, 8 years? 6 years down
Well,
there.
now that we've gone this far,
Yeah.
first of all, we're gonna make sure he wants the position. That would be
Yeah, well, like
and
you said, we ought to offer it to him,
and
Have
well,
him
let's offer to him and
see if he'll accept it.
so.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, if you want to entertain a motion, I will move that we do offer it to Ron.
Second it.
I have
See
a,
if
I
he's
have a
willing to
motion.
step in.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we will offer the position too. Okay, is there anything else with this? Again, you know, what do we miss, Scott Lovett?
Yeah.
It's,
We haven't even been halfway there yet, Mr. Chairman. There'll be a lot of things that come up in this as well, so we could head start yet.
yes, right. So, anyways, moving on. Joan,
Yes, sir.
town meeting articles. I'd be glad you stayed.
Yeah, well, for a little while. We'll see how we go here. You know, I look at it this way, that Debbie has put this together, it's being presented to you, town council's gonna look at it. So, I would say, whatever the final draft is, I'm happy with it. I'm not here to, you know, make any waves about I don't like this, that type wording or whatever, because I feel there's much more qualified people looking at these. All I do is facilitate and make sure that everything gets moved,
Sure.
keeps moving along, so.
We want to make your evening easy. That's what we wanna do.
Thank you.
Well, Joan,
This evening, tonight, or at the town meeting?
Joan, the first thing I do is go to the backup page to see what the number of articles are there,
Yeah, I know.
and I think we've done very well here.
Yeah?
Well,
For
actually,
the annual,
no,
yes.
the annual doesn't have the zoning. I didn't have time to paste everything in,
Oh.
so there's,
But still,
there is zoning that's on a separate.
even if we add those extra 5, we're still less than 30, or actually 31.
You forget the budget's not in here yet.
Yeah, but that's
It'll
just
be-
a, yeah, I know.
I know.
But that's just an extra article. But I've seen warrants that have been up in the 50s. with articles, over 50 articles.
Wow.
So we've done pretty well. And I think a lot of it was the consolidation that we did a few
Yeah.
years ago
Yeah.
to get the,
Standard articles
Yes.
consolidated.
yeah.
Yeah,
Do we
you're
wanna-
talking like Article 12 where we put all of
Consent.
those together, yes.
Consent
Save a lot of
motions.
time.
Deb, you wanna walk us through this, or you wanna?
Okay, so if you wanna start with the annual, 1, 2, 3, 4, Article 4, once again, the selectmen need to give me some guidance and then need to set a rate for the surveyor of highways.
Mhm.
I don't know if you wanna do that tonight or not. I need to get something to the finance committee for tomorrow, so that does need to be discussed when we bring up the highway budget later in the evening. If you want.
If I could, I've been thinking about this for a while, knowing that we would have to come to this day at some point. And my thoughts would be somewhere in about 55,000.
What would that, Bob, be, the surveyors?
Well, the new appointed highway surveyor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you got another item that we didn't even talk tonight. Scott was elected tree warden,
Yeah,
and he carried a salary of, it's carried over, Finance Committee, $7,322. So that was combined with Scott, so we gotta look. He runs a show on that too, you know, down there. That's another big
I
deal.
think Bob's figure of $55,000 would be appropriate.
Actually, I took that into account, Jack, when I thought about it. And also, the moth superintendent, which is an appointed position, not an elected.
The what position?
Moth superintendent.
Moth?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's an old throwback to the
Yeah.
brown-tail moth back in the 30s.
yeah.
Okay.
What'd you say, 55 bucks?
55, yes. And that's just a suggestion.
What about the tree warden's position?
I think we could add that in. I mean,
Add
it's
that in.
it's 7,000 for that.
Okay.
And typically, I mean, he does get a little bit of a stipends for that,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of that is, I guess it is a salary though, isn't it? Because there is a separate appropriation
Yes, it
for
is.
the.
The selectmen and the FinCom have already reviewed the tree budget.
Okay.
That was on your last week's budget checkoff.
Budget checkoff,
You did
yeah.
review it.
Well, it's already approved too, if you read it. Requested Finance
Because you
Committee.
approved it. The selectmen approved that too.
Yeah.
I did the tree budget up and you reviewed it, so there was no,
Well, like Bob said too, Debbie, they didn't put a line item, figure for Scott, the salary.
Well,
of
I
highway.
didn't because I know you have it on the agenda and I'm running out of time. There's no more opportunities for me to get these budgets done.
Yeah,
So
we gotta throw
I
it
had to
in.
work on the highway budget the end of this last week.
Yeah,
and it's today.
we're pressed for time, so
Yeah.
we need to.
Well, we should wrap it, try to do something tonight, and then we're gonna have to bring Ron in, he might, whatever. So what you're saying, Bob, is we'll add the approved tree warden salary of $7,300.
Yeah,
Mhm.
7323.
So that would bring him up to 62.
Okay, so we need a
3,
motion
2, 3, right?
for the salary, for the interim highway surveyor. Do I have a motion for $55,000?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second
I
it.
have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And I think we need to talk to Ron about the tree moth too, to see if he would be willing to take that on at the same time.
Okay.
And obviously, I think with the 55 would be what we could offer him at that point. If he accepts it.
Want to delete the 73, Bob?
No, leave that in there,
No,
Jack.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we need to have a carrot
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Okay. So anything else on this?
Everything else is, remains the same.
Excuse me?
Everything else remains the same. Everything, the changes reflect the budgets that have been approved. And Article 5 is the general
Omnibus.
general budget. Then Article 6 is the water budget that you just looked at. 7, 8, 9, you've already reviewed.
Right,
8 is the standard
standard.
light department article.
Mhm.
9, 10, 11 are standard articles. So there's no change there.
Okay.
And
No
on
change.
Article 10, that number may change depending on what interest in the perpetual care account is available for the cemetery board to use.
Okay.
We have 2 Article 8s.
You know, you have to understand, this is only draft 2, so I actually have a team of proofreaders here
Oh,
at Town
okay.
Hall
Okay.
that will be reviewing it, and I really just worked on this yesterday. So I
Okay.
inserted water articles up front.
Okay.
Yep,
I had them at the end, so
okay,
just bear
That's
with
fine.
me on this.
Yep.
Thank you.
yep,
Draft.
yep.
No, it's a good point, because, well, we'll have to catch all this later. 12 is all the revolving fund renewals.
Right,
And in fiscal 13, we added 2 new ones, 11 and 12 at the bottom. Remember last year, on the annual town meeting warrant, we had 2 articles creating an agricultural commission one and a harbor master one. So there are no changes to that. And I have to get the data on what the balances are plugged into that. Article 13 is the 375th revolving fund article. I've made this, inserted it both by the anniversary committee and the Board of Selectmen.
mm-hmm,
And I put in here, Mr. Perry, expenditures not to exceed 20,000. I realized that when the selectmen voted to place this article, I didn't have an expenditure cap. I'm not sure what you're expecting to bring in. It's 20,000?
seems like a reasonable figure.
Okay. And I just wrote up an explanatory note. And Article 14 is the standard water pollution abatement trust.
Mm-hmm.
Debt service. 15 is the standard CPA article.
Debbie, could I just ask,
Yes.
there's another article regarding the 350th and the special. Are these 2 separate articles? Or is
Yes.
one being moved, or?
This is a revolving fund to
Okay.
create a
One is
revolving.
establishing and the other is appropriating seed money.
Okay.
So this one has to be on an annual town meeting warrant because it's the creation of a revolving fund, so it's a good point. The other one, the selectmen put on the special,
Special.
so they could get access to those funds this fiscal year.
Oh, okay, I get it.
To
All
start
right,
their
yes.
program.
Well, that'll be a question that somebody may bring
Sure.
up, so I'm, just for clarification, all right?
They're gonna be doing fundraising, I guess, and get businesses and people will be donating to that event, to the events. Okay, the standard CPA article. And then, Article 24 on your, is printed on your warrant. That
Right.
is a transfer into the OPEB trust.
Yes.
And then 25 is to transfer into the stabilization fund.
And that will give us how much the stabilization?
Well, I have to tally that up still.
Okay.
And then zoning comes after that, there were so many pages, we didn't have time to do
Right.
that. So there are several zoning articles that they can't be amended or changed. They have to go in as printed based on their public hearing. Nothing can be amended on that. So that will go at the end, and that will be the annual.
And there's actually 5 of those articles, and the vast majority of them are basically bookkeeping or house cleaning situations where we kind of change language and make corrections and things like that. So hopefully that won't be too
Bob,
timely.
could I ask, because I know you're the one that would know, could you grab me a couple of former town meetings? The last 2-3 times that we've had no zoning changes, so I would like to just go through some that Warren had, just to make sure, you know.
The way they were put in the warrant, or?
No, more or less, just how we did it through town meeting, that I could take them home and look at the tapes.
You'd have to talk to Susan Hazen would
Okay,
would have
she'll
those
know
tapes.
which years or which ones to look
Well,
at.
it's easy enough to go through the warrants and find them.
Okay.
Yeah, I
and then
can do
Susan
that.
should have the tape.
Yeah, I just would like to sit down, you know, after school vacation, we can just run it through and just make sure that, you know, it's the right things to ask, that they've been duly advertised and, you know, the points of interest, just to
Sure.
make sure, and I'll make notes myself.
Anything else on the annual town meeting? Okay, move on to special.
I think the annual town meeting will move along quite smoothly.
I think so.
depending on, like Bob just says, with the housekeeping on the zoning, and I think that'll be it. I just think, I think the special is going to be the one that we're going to have a lot of questions.
Okay.
And rightfully so.
Okay, so on the special, 1, 2, 3 is standard. Article 4 is transferring funds to cover the cost of holding town meeting. We're taking it from one of our budget lines, moving it into the selectmen's line. Article 5 is, and once again, this is draft. I haven't had anybody else really look at it, other than I was just trying to get pen to paper. This is an article that the cemetery is transferring some funds that are available in cemetery funds project number 1, I call it, and they would like to use that for their computer software programming. Article 6 is a transfer from within the treasurer's budget for funds to be used for the purpose of microfilming permanent records of the treasurer collector. Article 7 is the appropriation from free cash to the 375th anniversary committee, so that they can sort of get the seed money that they need to begin their program of events. Article 8, we do have unexpended balances in several borrowing articles, ranging from 1 in 2005 up to 2012. The fire chief had requested a command vehicle that he, indicated that he needed that, and radios. We were able to sort of cobble together the funds to cover this purchase, up to a shortfall of $1,242.53, which we can take from free cash to cover those capital needs for the fire department. And that's been reviewed by bond counsel. And Article 9, I've met with Ron Keefe, going over various pieces of capital equipment that the highway department needs. I remember that Scott had mentioned a couple of these, so this would be a transfer of $12,000 from free cash to purchase these various pieces of equipment: mower, new welder, pressure washer, hedge trimmer, pole saw. Article 10 is, I'm suggesting that come from free cash, $3,300 for the police station. They have a need to repair, or I guess remove and replace existing carpeting, and some flooring issues there. We do have to make sure that we, have the proper flooring, or there's liability issues. People could get hurt, whether they're employees or members of the public. Article 11 is $6,000. This would be from free cash, once again, to repair the cell block in the police station. This has been cited by the Department of Public Health, so it is considered a priority. So we think that should be done as soon as possible. Now, Article 12 is the Board of Selectmen's article to appropriate $15,875 to pay the penalty issued by the Department of Environmental Protection by the administrative consent order. So this is coming from the Water Department's line 163, interim loan interest line, which you discussed last week and voted to place on the warrant. So, like I said, I have to clean up some language here. Article 13, Amy Doreen and I met with Bob Murray about some of the needs that we have for the town hall. There are funds available, going back to an old article from 2001 that was appropriated for town hall roof leaks. So we thought that those funds would be well used to repair the ceiling upstairs that had sustained some water damage.
Yes.
From the cupola before we had it restored. And also there's a window above our little limited use lift elevator that's outside, that runs outside the building. And we believe water does come in because that's resulted in some electrical problems with that unit. So we want to remove that, patch that up, and maybe do some work on the elevator. So that's the breakout of that. So it's just coming from an old article. In the following article, there's a balance in one of the capital equipment articles that we had, a capital equipment borrowing of $6,256. We had the gazebo roof repaired in a capital equipment borrowing article. And so we came in well under budget. We had, I believe, 12,000 earmarked in that borrowing, and we have a balance of 6,000. We would like to use that towards the cost of removing the elevator. Fire escape at the annex. And also by transferring some funds from the town hall roof repair job that we did in 2007. So we have a total appropriation of $11,756. I'm looking at Amy because I know she's been working on the fire escape project, and that should cover that cost. Fire escape absolutely needs to come out. It's a danger.
It's actually been picked up by the insurance company.
Yes, it needs to be removed regardless of whether we do the exterior
Gotta go.
project. It has to be removed because it's not safe, and we are afraid it could collapse. So those funds, like I said, they're all transfers, not coming from any other source. Just balances that we have from projects that have come in under budget. And then 15, 16, and 17 are the CPA articles that you've already reviewed and voted on to place on the warrant. Now, Article 18 is the article that transfers some general municipal property that originally was intended to be placed under the care of the Conservation Commission and wasn't. And I have a memo here from the conservation agent on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joan? Want to copy that? Sure, thank you. We obtained this parcel. I was donated to the town. And when the selectmen were working on issuing a request for a proposal to lease a parcel of land off Smith Lane for the use of a cell tower, it was discovered at that time that that parcel was actually under the care of the Conservation Commission, so it was Article 97 protected land. So in order to convert that parcel to non-conservation land, we had to file an special act in the legislature. And we had to then put in 2 other parcels into conservation status in order to take that smaller one out. So we did put one of the 2 parcels in, and then this is a swamp area that's behind McDonald's.
Yes.
So it can't be built on anyway. So we just need to go through the formality of creating a deed and putting it under the conservation status. So Brent had discovered that in some research. The other parcel is on Fenno Drive.
Okay.
So that's that article. And he's writing an explanatory note on that, which he'll condense what's in his memo and make it into something smaller so that the public can understand that.
Any discussion from the board?
You fine with that?
Yeah. I think that'd be a good move.
In Article 19, the Cemetery Commissioners had voted to place that article on. They're transferring $20,000 from their sale of lots and graves account to continue their expansion plans for sections G and H of the cemetery. Article 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and the new article you just voted on tonight, 28. have all been voted on by the selectmen earlier this evening.
Yes.
Water articles. Then Articles 28, 29, and 30. And 30
These are all
30
gonna
and
bump up, and
31
these are all gonna change a number.
are amendments
because-
to
okay.
the town's dog bylaw that the town clerk has been working on for several months. The town needs to meet the requirements of new state laws governing various issues with dog licensing. And also her suggested amendments do really improve the bylaws, make them easier to understand, and increase the fees where they're relevant. The first one is the acceptance of a statute that will direct the town that no license fee shall be charged for a dog owned by a person aged 70 years or over. So that was pretty simple.
Got the person or the dog?
I'll have to buy a dog.
Both.
Buy the dog,
Yeah.
and then you don't have to pay the fee.
I'm gonna have to recuse myself.
And if there's any dog owners, then they
Dog owner, right?
I'm not gonna go out and get a dog, just I won't have.
I'll stick to my little cat.
But, Mrs. Hazen worked with the town's attorney on all of these bylaw changes. So I've just kind of formatted them, and Judy Pickett's gonna take another review at them, and they're in the article. I still have to send them to Mrs. Hazen to review again, making sure that I didn't inadvertently make any change. And then Article 30, so 29 is on the license fees. That's a little more streamlined.
Okay.
And 30 is deleting the pickup fees. We don't have an in-house dog kennel, or also known as a dog pound. So there are various dog kennels that are used in the town of Raleigh. So the town charges the pickup fee by the animal control officer. The dog is then transported to one of the authorized kennels, and then the dog owner will pay the kennel directly for the boarding and the feeding of the dog. So this more or less cleans that section of the bylaw up.
So 28 and 29 are to conform with the new state law.
Yes.
And then she's cleaning up and changing from what I gather, these different things from 30 through the next couple, okay.
The picking up, the boarding,
Right.
striking that language because it doesn't apply, so it's just a lot clearer now on impounding pickup and boarding fees in the bylaw.
Okay.
Any questions from the board?
Looks
No?
good.
Joan, you,
No, that looks good with me, like I said, as long as town council has looked at this and you guys are happy, I just facilitate. Keep the town meeting moving.
gotta keep you happy, Joan.
Well, it's good to have Joan here, and we all
Absolutely.
haven't got to scramble around the night of
Yeah.
town meeting and say, what's this, how come this? Joan's here to work it with us.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Joan,
Glad to
for
have you
being
here,
here.
Joan.
Yes, thank you very much.
This'll, help, like you said, facilitate it and move it through the process. And, the more we do that, the easier town meeting goes.
True, and like I said, if we can have like town council on the water articles, making some sort of a statement and some other things, I think it'll just kind of keep it moving smoothly along. I really do believe that once these warrants, both of these are out, I think we're going to have a big crowd this year.
I think so, and I think, people are, upset, which they should be.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I think they have to understand that, this board has, put in place safeguards in oversight. And, we have a fiscal team now moving forward, so, if anything, we've taken action.
And I think that has been clearly stated in, just by a lot of these things, that now it's overseen, not just at the water department or the water board, also certain things cannot be enacted until they come before the Board of Selectmen.
Just keep the town meeting to the point, to the articles.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Don't be
And again,
someone
I
that's gonna get up
understand,
there,
you know,
right?
people have said some things, you know, and Jack, you know, commented to me tonight, someone said something to him, and there's been some misinformation. And again, when we come into 2 weeks from tonight, I'm
Yeah.
gonna make some comments, because I want to diffuse a lot of some of the erroneous information that's out there among the public. If anything, again, this board has, you know, taken action, appropriate action.
And I think, you know, I've been watching on TV, so I've seen the last several Mondays, not only, that the water department has been in here, they've been before the finance committee. And I have to tell you, I think that finance committee this year is working just very smoothly.
Yes.
Everybody is going to their different committees that they've been assigned to, they've done their homework, and any questions that were asked were answered very easily from whoever went to like the schools, whoever has gone to the water department, who's come to the Board of Selectmen, so,
I'm very impressed with FinCom.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, having
I was-
representatives assigned
Yes.
to each of the
Yes, yeah,
boards, it's been worked out very, very well.
yeah, I
Very
think it
good
has,
point, yes.
it's worked very well.
And I think that as we go forward and we go into town meeting, I think that's gonna add a lot to it, is the FinCom. And
Yes.
because if people have been watching those FinCom meetings, you know, that will lay a lot of their fears.
And whoever was the finance committee person that went to that board meeting at the budget time will be able to get up and speak to it because they have been at these meetings. It'll be a little bit different than what's been done in the past. I would assume that the rest of the board, the finance board, each one is gonna be taking individual articles, and if there's any questions, that person will be able to get right back up and say whatever pertaining to it, so.
They've been there and
They've been
they
there.
have the background.
They
for it.
have the background,
That's excellent.
instead of just numbers being presented to them at a weekly or bi-monthly meetings now.
I know, they've gone to commission meetings, they've gone to meet with department heads.
Yes.
You know, different members of the FinCom, so I give them a lot of credit.
Yes,
go good.
very much so.
Yeah, the
It's
meeting
a,
should
it's a
go
bigger
good.
commitment than I think a lot of them knew when they first got on. You know, okay, budget time, you know, you're almost every week from January on till we get to town meeting, but I think now they see that they're going to regular monthly meetings throughout the year.
I think it's gonna make the town meeting go a lot smoother, I really do. So, and the only thing is that, you know, we have to, you know, talk to the people out there, and I hope they're all tuning in tonight. And, again, this is the best reality TV you can watch.
And I think what, I think will be presented to town, to the citizens of the town is that, you have a Board of Selectmen that is overseeing, problems and taking care of it. You have a finance committee that's got their hands on all the department budgets. And I think the taxpayers need to know that, the town is working for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that they just go to a meeting and do nothing. They are it's a hard-working group of people.
I think
And-
the best thing that's happened to the town is getting on TV. You know, I mean, this is full transparency. People see the process, you know, and see how their money gets appropriated, how it gets spent, everything else. You can't beat this.
No. So, well, I'm not gonna keep you guys any later.
Let me see, Joan, you got 5 minutes before the game starts.
Which game? What game am I missing? What game am I missing?
National.
I'm
The one
keeping
that-
Dancing with the Stars.
The one that Dave is ready to watch.
Oh,
Joan, thanks for coming in.
no, thank you.
Okay.
See you guys in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
Thank you, Joan.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, John.
We couldn't miss town meeting, Joan.
I hope not. No more back problems, please, not good.
Oh, yes.
Yes, bye.
Okay, thanks, Joan. Okay, town common tree landscape bid. This is new business number 3, town common landscape bid. Dan Sapansky from the town common restoration committee has informed Debbie that the bid documents for Raleigh Common Tree Landscape Restoration Project are ready to be released. The committee asked for some minor changes, and as a follow-up, last week's discussion, the town will have an option to postpone planting in the spring if the town determines that is not suitable due to weather or other conditions. Debbie is asking to release date of Thursday, April 11th at 11 a.m. The Board of Selectmen needs to vote to authorize the release of IFB on Thursday, April 11th, 2013, 11 a.m. subject to any modification, edits, changes that need to be made to the draft. So, with that, in the invitation for bids, any questions?
So you probably wouldn't necessarily see it in your draft. Mr. Todd was here last week and brought up a concern about planting in the spring.
Yes.
He did confer with Mr. Sapansky, who had otherwise approved the language you had before you last week. So they have come up with a recommendation of having under section Roman numeral 5, specifications, letter B, page 15, bullet 1. I have some suggested language under that first bullet. Plant only in spring. However, the owner reserves the right to instruct the contractor to plant in the fall should weather conditions or other conditions exist in the spring that are not conducive to planting trees.
Right.
That's on page 15. There are some other further suggestions that have been made on the caliber. The caliber is measured 4 feet off the ground, and then there's just some dimensions on that caliber that were changed. I mean, really things that were very important to the town common tree restoration subcommittee that's dealing with the trees. Otherwise, it's boilerplate bid language, contractual language. So if it's okay with the board, it would just, I'll wait to hear back from Dan on the draft. And if, he has some other modifications or things, I don't think it really needs to come back to the selectmen. It would just be what would work well for the Tree Common Restoration Committee so that we can get this out to bid.
Need a vote from us?
We do.
Yeah.
Have a motion?
I'll move that the Board of, well, I'll read it like it is. The Board of Selectmen need to vote to authorize the release of the IFB on Thursday, April 11th,
I have a motion.
2013 at 11 a.m.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Subject to any modifications
Subject
that
to
we
any
make over
modifications.
the next couple days. Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on to old business number 1, updates from the town administrator on town hall projects.
Well, I put this on the agenda just to follow up. We're still holding payment on the cupola until the lawn is repaired, so I did speak to the company on Friday. I'm waiting to hear back from them on that.
Okay.
The windows have already been accepted by the selectmen, so that's underway.
Town hall's looking good.
Yes, it is.
It really is. We got a few more things to do, but it is looking good. Coming along.
It all takes time and money.
Yeah. Thank you, Debbie.
You're welcome.
And Amy and Maureen. Work hard, I know you do. And thank you. Okay, moving on. Review FY14 budgets. Okay.
Yeah, the first one, Ms. Jim, this is a new budget line, if you would like to discuss this with the board.
Okay, this is on the first page here, on old business number 2. Collective bargaining reserve, $65,000. This new budget line, the town is in negotiations with all 3 unions. The recently conducted personnel study included bargaining unit positions. The town has a legal obligation to bargain over wages and unions. These funds are being set aside in FY14 budget in anticipation that the town employees negotiated wage increases as a result of personnel study. The town's labor attorney recommended this budget line as an option to set aside funds. So this is just in a town article. This is a collective bargaining reserve. So this money
Is
60
anticipation of working with the union.
Anticipation of that, you know,
Yep.
going into bargaining, okay? So, any questions from the board on this? Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, will the board be voting then to insert this budget line within the selectmen's,
Do I have a
within their
mo-
budgets, your budgets?
So this will be in the selectmen's line, so,
Right,
so,
and what we'd be voting is a 65,000 on top to compensate maybe later down the road, right?
Correct, because we do have to have a balanced budget on June 30th, and we're in negotiations right now. Nothing that would be resolved that would make it onto the town meeting warrant for this year. The union employees theoretically, if we did negotiate agreements in the summertime, would have to wait until the spring town meeting, and then we would have to find the money at the time. In this case, we would be appropriating it in the fiscal 14
Reserve.
budget.
To fund it, whatever needed.
Transfer it out at the fall, if negotiations are successful and contracts are settled at the fall town meeting, there would be an article to transfer some portion of this appropriation in this budget line to a wage line in another
so it would be
budget.
there, out
Yeah,
there.
Yeah, be
Available.
sitting there, and we got it.
It's sitting there, and it's, you know, we don't have to
Like Debbie said, if they
go
approve
looking
it in
for it or
August,
anything else, and,
September,
have an article
we'll
at the
have an
fall town
article
meeting.
When we got the money in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I mean, it's out there, it's, you know, waiting to be used when, you know, union negotiations, you know, been approved.
Well, it spells it right out,
Yeah.
collective bargain reserve.
Right.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion, a second?
Second.
I have a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, minutes.
Mr. Chairman, we have to review the highway budget and the snow and ice.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And they've followed along with the recommendation of the selectmen that the expenses have been level funded.
Correct.
And just the increases based on the personnel study.
That's right. In the highway department, the highway surveyor is an elected official, so this needs to be changed to reflect the new proposed salary of $55,000.
55, okay.
And there is, and if you look at Form 2, the highway foreman position, truck driver, equipment operator, truck driver, labor are bargaining unit positions.
Mm-hmm.
The on-call truck driver is non-union, the seasonal laborers are non-union. They have been placed into the new compensation schedule, and that's why you see a slight change in their pay rates as of fiscal 14.
Mm-hmm.
And also this year, and this is a significant point of discussion for this evening, the funding of the highway secretary, I did look back, I wanna say it could be about, 6 to 7 years ago, that we were in a tight budget time where we had not funded our executive secretary position here. The highway surveyor also had a vacancy as well as in our office, and he offered not to fill the secretary position. I had a conversation with Scott when we issued preliminary budget guidelines, and he said he was really interested in filling that position. It's just to have somebody in there to do the bills, the payroll preparation, answer the phone, open the mail, process things when he's
That needs to be.
trying to do his job without having that person in the office made a big difference for him. He expressed the desire to fill that position. I prepared this budget, you know, under what he said, and I understood it to be. I had discussions with Ron Keefe as well and Bob Murray. This is what I would, and this is a bargaining in a position, so I just went back to the comp schedule that we're using right now.
I am amazed that Scott held that office together so many years. The way he did, all by himself.
That's an additional $6,300 I'm looking at for 8 hours a week. There's no benefits to the position at all. No paid leave benefits, no insurance, pension.
Yeah, 'cause it's under the 20 hours.
Yeah, it's a nice job for a retired person.
So it keeps
That's
it, you don't have to pay all the
Yeah.
benefits.
Right.
looking for something, or a mother or something, so, I mean, it's just 8 hours a week.
Yeah, it sounds like really help them down there, really. Especially right now, I mean, if Ron was there, or anyone here, they could be out in the field working when they'd have to be at the desk preparing the payroll, bills, and whoever they hire.
That's right.
2 4-hour days or 8 hours,
That's
like you
right.
say.
It could be configured in some way that
Yeah,
would
I
work
think
well
it's
for
a
them on the weekly
Good help
schedule.
to help the department to get that back.
What else, Deb?
I did the best that I could on breaking out the overtime.
Sure.
I just used what Scott had last year. And there were no rate changes to the bargaining unit employees, so I just kept it the same.
Okay.
So, and the expenses, I do wanna thank Ron and Patrick Snow. They've been working on the computer, trying to go through tracking the expenses. I know this isn't an ideal situation, but we were able in a short amount of time break out on Form 3 some of these expenses. Patrick has a lot of experience in various software programs, so he was able to really pull this together in a short amount of time. So we broke it out to the best that we could. We're level funding that,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's what we came up with. Certainly next fiscal year, things can look a lot more improved, but
We need a,
we need a motion from the selectmen on the highway budget
I'll make a motion that we accept the
with the
highway-
changes.
with the changes.
Yeah, with the changes as discussed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Still got it.
Who? Who got it?
Stu.
Stu got it. No. Stu's got it. Okay. It's getting late. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Snow and ice,
I level funded it.
level funded.
Yep.
Okay with that?
Oh, yeah.
So moved.
Absolutely. Have a motion to,
So moved.
so moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now minutes.
Minutes. Seconds.
Well, give me a chance first. Okay. March 4th, 2013, minutes. Has everybody read them?
Yes.
I have.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes as printed for March 4th, 2013.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Absent, abstain. Okay. Okay, executive session, everybody read them?
Yep.
Yeah.
I have a motion.
I'll make the motion that we accept the executive session, March 4th, as printed,
I have a motion.
2013.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain. Okay. Okay, I saw the ladies this morning from the food pantry. They told me they were in need of paper towels and condiments, ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise, relish, those type of things. So if you could drop those off in either a drop-off basket at the library, or you can drop it off. Again, the food pantry is open Tuesdays 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., Thursdays 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m., and the food donations come right over here at the rear of the parsonage, next to Baptist Church. So, again, paper towels, they told me, and condiments, mayonnaise, mustard, ketchup, relish, those type of things. So, town has the following vacant seats, zoning board of appeals, associate, 3 open seats. Battery recycling box is right here, located out in the town hall corridor, also over at the library. And Joe, you can do the next.
Thank you. The Raleigh Public Library is accepting donations for the annual book sale. Books, DVDs, and CDs in their original boxes will be accepted. No textbooks, encyclopedias, digests, or magazines. And this is a annual fundraiser by the Friends of the Public Library. And the Raleigh Public Library annual book and bake sale will be held on Saturday, May 4th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and on Sunday, May 5th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Again, please support your local library, and this is run by the Friends of the Public Library.
Thank you, Joe. I have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion to adjourn. We will not be on next week because of the holiday, Patriots Day, and we will come back in 2 weeks on the 30th. Is that correct? Or the
No.
29th? 29th. Okay.
No,
22nd.
22nd.
I'm sorry, 22nd. I'm ahead of myself. I'm trying to get to
Try
town
it.
meeting. That's what it is. Okay.
Fine.
Okay. So
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night now. We'll see you 2 weeks. Thank you.